Coming in at number 10 of the top 10 fighting ships, a ship that was described as the most powerful and invincible battle wagon in the world.
Hood class battle cruiser. Displacement 42,500 tons. Propulsion 4 Brown Curtis geared turbines producing 144,000 horsepower. Speed 31 knots. Range 5,170 nautical miles at 18 knots. Protection maximum armor 15 inches. Principal armament 8 15-inch guns. Crew 1,418.
On May 31st, 1916, in an area known as Jutland off the coast of Denmark, the two most powerful navies in the world went head-to-head in one of the great ship battles of the 20th century. Both Britain and Germany suffered huge losses to their fleet, and it seemed that the capital ship's days were numbered. But the British naval brass were not ready to throw in the towel and came up with a radical new design of fighting ship. Its name was to be Hood.
The Hood was the first of what was going to be a whole new class of ships being built around the world at the end of World War I, which is the super battlecruiser. A battlecruiser which had the punching power of a battleship truly, and still had the high speed and was still fairly well armored.
Completed in 1920 and the only one of her class, the Hood, at 860 feet long, was the largest ship ever to be built for the Royal Navy. With a speed of 31 knots and armed with 8 15-inch guns, Hood represented the new generation of fast fighting ships.
One of the reasons that she is a beautiful ship is that you would prefer to have your side armor at an angle, so when a shell comes in, it tries to go through a plated angle, it's more likely to bounce down. And so she's got that nice flared hull form, which we find attractive.
Known as the Mighty Hood, it was considered the greatest warship ever built, and throughout the 1920s and 30s went on world tours boasting its power and size.
Between the wars, the Royal Navy was still the premier navy in the world, and it was the premier ship in the premier navy. And if it looks the part, and the Hood looked the part, then people will believe it's the part.
But that boast would soon be shattered when World War II began. Hitler's Navy had some of the most modern and sophisticated battleships, while Hood was nearly 20 years old and in desperate need of a refit. On May 24, 1941, the Hood's shortcomings were put to the test when she came up against the German battleship Bismarck and heavy battlecruiser Prinz Eugen.
There are a few ships' names in Britain that go down in history. Hood is certainly up there. But actually, when you look at it, in terms of operational expectancy, we expected more from Hood than we got. And it really didn't come up and cut the mustard. It was an older design than Bismarck. Bismarck ran rings round it.
At a range of 25,000 yards, the ships opened fire. It only took 5 salvos from Bismarck to pierce the Hood's deck armor and smash the boast of the world's mightiest warship. Within 8 minutes, the Hood sank, and out of a crew of 1,418, only 3 men survived.
The big regret is she wasn't rebuilt, didn't have the time and the money to rebuild her. She may have survived the Bismarck, and she may have had a much bigger role.
Because the Hood was sunk in its first battle, the protection rating is low, as is its firepower score. Marked higher is its fear factor and innovation. Its service length of 21 years gets a good score, but not enough to place the Hood any higher than 10th place in our top 10 fighting ships.